Good morning and welcome to 59 Minutes. My name is Levi Kones, and this morning we're going to be having a conversation with a very, very interesting content creator. Her name is Rhoda Kedah. Karibu.
Asante sana.
Glad to have you here.
Glad to have you, to be here.
You're used to hosting people.
I'm so used to hosting people. So sitting on this side is a bit,
It's a bit difficult.
Yeah, but I'm
How
really
would you
happy.
describe yourself?
I am I'm a born-again jovial woman. I'm a wife to one Mr. Jackson Kedah, very lucky man. I'm a mother to a candidate, a 13-year-old called Tanasha Kedah. Also a blessing in my life.
Yes.
I'm a content creator and I'm passionate about marriage, passionate about parenting, just the institution of family.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about
This
it.
thing about marriage, because you talk about, before I get into what you do actually.
Yes.
Were you always passionate about marriage?
I think it's something God planted in my heart after some time. I was so passionate about children. Like all about children, and I used to be Auntie Rhoda, all children are coming to me, and all about children. Then I thought, for these children to be raised well, then the families should be stable. So marriages should work for these children to actually thrive even in their childhood. So God planted it in my heart in 2018, and
This was before you got married or after?
After I got married. Immediately after. You know, like, have you ever seen someone who is 3 months in marriage talking about marriage? You know, that was me. So I'm telling people I'm starting a show on marriage, and they're like, hey, gonga tano kwanza. You don't know what you're talking about.
True.
You don't know what marriage is about, but you know, when God gives you that vision and it's his work anyway, he can use anyone and anything. So,
So where are you doing this show?
I'm doing it on YouTube. It's basically on YouTube on my channel. So I thought about, you know, there are so many, I did media in school.
Yes.
And there are so many students who are telling me, Rhoda, I'm looking for a job. Rhoda, I'm looking for a platform. And then I was like, you know what? God has given us social media and YouTube. You know, you can start your thing and do your thing. You don't have to wait for Cast TV to call you, you know. You don't have to wait. You can start where you are. So I was like, let me look for a platform to do this. Then my husband told me, but we have platforms, internet, you know. Just start there. So I do it basically on YouTube.
You can be your own broadcaster, really.
Yes, you can. I was told with the phone you are a media house.
You're a media house.
Yes.
True. So now you started talking 3 months into marriage.
Yeah.
You want to do this thing. Where did you start? How did you start?
Okay, now the show is called 50 Years of Marriage. So the idea was, first I got married and everyone was asking me, immediately after my very short honeymoon, everyone was asking me, how's marriage? And I'm like, I don't know. I've just gotten into marriage. So I don't even know what marriage is. Stop asking me this question. So for at that time, I thought, why don't I interview people who've actually been married? You know, people who've been there. So the show is called 50 Years of Marriage. It's all about interviewing women from 1 year in marriage to 50 years of marriage. So I began with a woman who's married for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I'm now at 42. Wow. 42 plus so many bonuses in between. As we wait, as I look for 43, I look for someone else that I can interview in between. So,
and you have done every year? 1 year, 2 years?
Yes, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, up to 42 years.
How do you find them?
Everywhere. I post on my status. Some people recommend, some people just celebrate their anniversaries. I'm like, oh, you're 43, I'm looking for you. I get them from everywhere, everywhere.
So when you started,
yes.
You started with the 1 year.
Yes.
Was the topics and the discussions the same as you would with 43 years old?
No, not at all.
What's your thought process like?
1 year was like, I was there, so this is my group, because I was just 3 months, so these are my girls, you know. 1 year is all about honeymoon, we're just talking about wedding and the gown, how it was. By the time I get to 20, we are calm down. There's no hype. I remember hosting, I started with 1, 2, and 3, the same set, because I thought we are still in the same, you know, bracket, you know. So we took selfies. I remember on set we were taking selfies. We're being told, hey, calm down, now we start the show. So by now I'm 43. Even makeup, a woman tells you, I'm fine, let's talk. But that first year, it's all about, you know, honeymoon, you know, marriage, and we're so excited. Now we are knowing each other. We're talking about now intimacy. It was just so much fun. and all that. Then
Yeah.
we get to 6, 7, 8. Then we start talking about parenting. Now the children are now starting to come. Then by the time we get to 30, 40, people, I'm not talking to grandparents, by the way. So you talk about in-laws, talking about, sending your children off. And, you meet, every woman has their story. And I don't sit with a woman to tell them how marriage should be. I sit to listen to their stories.
Yes.
So when someone tells me, for me, I wake up early at 5 a.m. to cook chapos for my husband, that is their story. They're not telling you to do it.
Yeah.
Then,
That's
that generation. Yeah, that's how it's working for them.
Yeah.
Then the generations are also very different. So you get a woman who believes the man akikohoa unaitika. Then you have this younger generation who believes, hey, we discuss, we talk. Submission is not being a slave. Yeah. So there's that.
So,
happening.
but do you have a general concept that you want to bring out when you are starting?
Yes, that marriage works. The question you asked me before, where do I find these wives? At first I was like, will I really get happy wives? That was my thing.
Yeah.
I'm looking for happy wives. Because there's so much happening, so much.
Because there's wives, then
then there's happily married wives.
there's enduring wives.
Yeah. Then you meet those ones who tell you,
Yeah.
Nikuvumilia. You're like, hey, no. Like, start with something positive about your marriage, then you tell us the challenges, Then on social media, even in the mainstream media, the way we were told in school, when a dog bites a man, it's not news. And when a man bites a dog, it's news.
Yeah.
So the bad marriages,
They really trend,
true.
don't they?
Yeah, it's true. There are marriages that are not working. We can't ignore that. But we make so much noise about that, so that when even single people are scared to get married, they're thinking, hey, what I had, what I've just watched, what this woman has narrated, I'm not getting there.
And when married people hit a bump, they think, wow, I need to get out.
I need to get out. And then we forget, when it's not working, when mine is not working, Levis is working, mine doesn't represent marriage in general, Yeah, so I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
Marriage works.
So the basic concept was marriage works.
Marriage works.
So when you start, like you said, you start with the good things.
Yes, how you met.
Yeah.
Yeah, first year of marriage, how was it,
Yeah.
Then most now, when, I'm now talking to 40 and above, now they're telling me how petty they were when they were 1 year in marriage, and I'm like, hey, I'm just there. So, so they kind of talk to me.
A bit,
Yes, they tell me, when you get to 40, there are things you won't fight about. That you'll just calm down. There are things that won't bother you, things that are bothering you right now. So I actually feel like I just sit at the feet of counselors and just learn. Yeah.
Is it helping you yourself?
It is.
Are there things you're seeing as a person and thinking?
Yeah, what has stood out for me from wife 1 to wife 42 is that marriage is commitment. It's not love. I've experienced that myself.
Love is a feel-good feeling.
There are days I wake up and I don't feel like I love my husband. Even 2 years. I feel like, so this is for better for us. Like, this is still death. I'm here. Then there are days I feel like, this is the best decision I ever made. So I've learned that marriage is commitment, because every marriage is unique. Every marriage has challenges. There is no perfect marriage. That's what I've also come to learn. No matter what people show on social media, no matter what they portray, there is no perfect marriage.
Let's talk about that, because there are people who put their best foot forward.
Yeah.
In front of others.
Yes.
And social media has really played a part in making, others feel short, because when they see Levi and his wife, or, Rhoda,
where they live, where they're driving,
and we are always
posting
happy things, and no one is posting anything. Yeah, every picture is a happy moment. It's by a lake or sijui by what. So unakuwa
sasa wewe unatuumiza social media.
So you think there's no problem.
There's no problem. Actually, what that does is, now Rhoda looks at Levi's marriage and they're like comparing.
Yes.
Valentine's Day.
Husband, why can't you be like?
Yes, Valentine's Day, you brought flowers home. You're like, Jackson. And now my husband with dates and these celebrations, he is off. Birthdays, he is.
Anahitaji maombi.
Hey. You even tell him, next week is you hint, next week is my birthday. Next month is Valentine's. But at the end of the day, it's like, today was Valentine's. But the good thing is that in between, he does those two things here and there, flowers from nowhere. So for him, he feels like, I don't have to wait for Valentine's. It doesn't have to be a one-day thing. But for me, I'm like, bring the flowers, random, but Valentine's
Be a letter.
is Valentine's. So what social media does, it
Yes.
makes people compare so much.
Yes.
And because I only post my highlights, when I'm fighting with Jackson, I don't have time to bring the phone. I don't even know where my phone is. When we are mad at each other, I don't take photos. I don't take photos. I don't go live. I don't even know where my phone is.
You can't bring yourself to do it.
I can't. When it's now like the challenges when we're having an argument in marriage, I can't post.
And that's real.
That's real.
Yeah.
So when I even see people posting the fake arguments online, I'm like, no, there's no way we can be arguing and we're like, you know what, Jackson, we'll have to talk about, no, it doesn't
Maybe
happen.
a good challenge out there would be to tell people, to make that post daily.
Which one?
365 days a year.
Yeah.
That happy one.
That happy one.
Let's see whether you can
So
do it.
it's actually
like,
a good thing to post the good things about marriage.
Yeah.
But don't tell people you're perfect. It's good to say, hey, I am a happily married wife, despite the challenges, despite the ups and downs. I'm committed. I'm here. I'm happily married, Yeah, but just saying I'm perfect, nothing, my husband is perfect, he does nothing wrong, we are always happy, I woke up like this, no.
I woke up like this.
No, he didn't say
So
anything
43
like that.
conversations now.
Yeah.
Which are the ones that have stood out the most for you?
Oh, I remember I think the first one stood out for me, the 1, 2, and 3, because that is where I am. So it was all about honeymoon and the expectations and, learning to live with a stranger.
So the relatability was instant.
Yes, instant. I just loved my first session because we were talking about expectations. The way people expect. You get married, you go for a honeymoon, then there is, intimacy, sex. I'm allowed to say sex here.
Yes. It's a grown-up show.
Okay, it's a grown-up show. Children are in school preparing for KCP.
Children are at home.
Oh,
But they're not watching us. I know. They wameenda for cartoons.
Oh, fine. So, I was so happy to find out that, the ladies who, number one, pretend. It's a Christian show. So there are many Christian ladies who pretend to be virgins. And that was actually my main challenge. You have ladies, you ask, even outside the show, like, were you married a virgin? And they're like, yes, we waited. But qua ground,
Literally different.
we know you are going there every weekend. We know this, so we had a chance to just talk out the truth, even about honeymoon. Everyone expects when you go to honeymoon, you must have sex, and they're telling me nothing happened. We just went like roommates and came. There's fear. There are those who had never actually slept together, so they were even scared. So everyone was just opening up, and I was like, oh, it's normal. You don't have to live by the expectations
and those are
of
not
the
things
world.
people talk about.
They don't, because everyone expects you go to honeymoon. So many ladies know it must happen. If it doesn't happen, there's something wrong with you. Then we talked about the expectations of the wedding and the regrets. I remember my wife number 2, I call them by numbers, Faith. She was saying she regrets buying that gown. Like it was too expensive. Now she's wondering what she will do with it, And she was saying, I wish I just made my wedding smaller. I had, 20 bridesmaids and all that. So we were just sharing, and that's really stood out. Remember my wife number 6. I think she was the first one to ever say that she ran back home. I always ask, have you ever gone back home? Have you ever been tired and just said, enough, I'm going back home? So she actually confessed, there's a time things were so thick, I left. I went back home, he had to come back for me and all that. So I think up to number 42, she's the only one who has confessed going back. I think others, I haven't asked them in between. Masi Masika said she started walking. I hosted her once. She started walking, but akafuatwa mbio kwa barabara akarudishwa. The realness of marriage.
Of what happens,
of what really happens in marriage. Yeah, because you're also mentoring single people who are looking forward, and we don't want them to think they're coming to lie on a bed of roses. Yeah. We want them to know that there are thorns in the roses. We still have the thorns.
I was going to ask you, who are the bulk of your audience?
Married, actually single people, single ladies, and wives married between 1 and 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you
but
find
women.
Sasa, I was going to ask Sasa Sisi,
There are
do we
men
have a
who
problem
actually-
watching such things?
No, there are actually men who do watch. There are so many men who watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's good for men to also know what ladies think and what they go through and how we just view marriage. It's also good for men to know. Yeah. But there's also need for other content creators, especially men, to do something for
To
the
talk
boy
about men.
child.
Yes.
Yeah, to do something. And we will make sure our husbands watch. You just, you know, many people tell me, will men actually come on YouTube and watch my channel as I talk about marriage? They will. So you just get there, start your thing, you know. Yeah.
There seems to be a gap in that direction.
Yeah, there's a gap because everyone tells me, when will you start husbands? I'm like, I have no experience in being a husband. I will feel like I am,
Yeah.
I'm not giving my all because, you know, what will I even ask? I need a man to just start. Levi, talk to your boy child. Because as we empower women,
yes.
we need men who can actually marry empowered women.
Yes.
Yes, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, we need
quality
men.
women, we need quality men.
Quality
to
men.
I know, I have
yeah.
daughters. I think about that all the time.
Yes, we need to think about
Like,
that.
who's gonna buy them?
But the journey is really amazing, just learning every day. And what I also love about God is that He doesn't use perfect people. There are days I've just had an argument with Jackson and I'm going to interview a wife and I'm like, God, should I really go? You know, I'm not okay. I go. Then during the conversation, you find yourself talking to yourself or the wife just talking to you and telling you, hey, there are things that don't really matter. Major on the majors, you know. Then you just go home and say, oh, I'm sorry. And apologize. So, yeah, I'm learning.
So
and
it's very self-therapeutic as well.
Yes, it is. It is. I love every moment.
Now, if we factor in the trends right now, because
Yeah.
right now, one of the biggest issues is when you look at the newspapers or the news items,
Yeah.
you will not go a week without hearing about a husband who murdered a wife who slashed her husband.
Yeah.
You know, and it seems as if some people say that maybe in the past we did not have such a focus, so it was not happening.
I think it was.
You know, because we didn't focus on it so much.
Yeah, we didn't focus on it
that
so
maybe
much.
now we are focused so much, so we are seeing it. It's more glaring. And then the others that saying that we are in a generation that people are short-tempered and more easily, and we are making permanent solutions for temporary matters very quickly. Do you tackle such things?
We do.
In your discussions.
And what I love about the women I've hosted, every woman I have hosted, we know God hates divorce. But every woman has said if you are in an abusive relationship, whether you are the one abusing your husband or you're being abused by your husband, it's okay to separate. It's okay to find therapy. It's okay to find counsel. It's okay to walk out instead of you guys coming to pick a dead Rhoda. You know, she'd rather walk out and sort herself. You know, we also have the intentions. I think it also begins from the motive behind getting married. You ask people, why do you want to get married? And you realize they just want a wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, like after wedding, no one thinks, no one invests in that, no one goes
all
for
the
seminars.
niceties that go along with it.
Yes.
Your missus.
You are Mrs. Oh, I'll have a ring.
Yes,
you know, I'll be someone's wife and all that. But after wedding, no one wants to invest in that. And there's someone who says it's like having a shamba. You know, you have to cultivate to have a harvest. But in marriage, you want to sit and just harvest. We don't want to cultivate, we don't want to work, because marriage is actually work. So in matters on abuse, for me, I would say no matter how saved you are, if you're being abused, and these things we even see, there are single ladies who are being slapped by their boyfriends. And they're like, oh, I'm praying for him to change. Oh, it will. So there are things we ignore before getting married. There are signs we see, red flags here and there, and we ignore saying, God will change him. Oh, I'm praying. It was my fault. You know, there's nothing I can do that can make my, how do I put it, that will make me deserve being killed by my husband. You know, there's nothing that can get to that point. You know, we can always talk things out. We can always separate, you know, instead of killing each other. So number one, we ignore red flags. And number two, we pile up a lot. Instead of communicating in marriage, you know, something is wrong and I'm not talking to Jackson. I'm just like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And I keep piling. So one day, you see, that people who say they were killed because of 20 bob. I don't believe it's 20 bob.
I always say that.
I said 20 bob.
It was a push over the cliff.
Yeah. It was
But
20 bob was just...
we went to the top of that cliff with other things.
With other things. Then we landed there with a 20 bob and I'm like, enough.
Yeah.
But the reason is not 20 bob. So not communicating in marriage.
Yeah.
And something you even mentioned before we started the show was friendship.
Yes.
You know, we are really good friends when we are dating. Then all of a sudden, we are like, oh, strangers. You know, there's no friendship. I have a best friend outside there. Jackson has another best friend out there. What happened to our friendship? So if we are not good friends, if we don't cultivate friendship in our marriage, it will also be hard for us to communicate well, you know.
Yeah.
And if we don't communicate, that's where you store up things, and also keeping bad company. You know, the people tell me, Rhoda, why are you so excited about marriage? And there are so many marriages breaking. I tell them it's because I focus on the ones that are working. If you decide every day to look for, someone told me if you Google ways in which children died, children killed by a dog, you'll find. Child fallen from a bed and died, you'll find.
Yeah.
You know, so if you look for reasons why people get divorced, get killed in relationship, marriages that don't work, you will find all of them.
It's funny you say that because I always tell my children, ask Google the right questions.
Yeah, oh yeah, ask Google the right questions.
Because if you ask it, it will give you what you're looking for.
So for me, I decided to look for happy wives. And happy wives doesn't mean that they don't have challenges. You just decide to be committed and to be happy and to work on your marriage, you know, and not try. This is also what I've learned personally. I used to. I think, especially when we were dating, I used to try and change Jackson. I was like, mi niko sawa, you know, I'm a good woman.
Many men will say, our wives, they do that.
The problem is, if Jackson just stops doing A, B, C, I will work on that. But now I have learned to work on me.
Yeah.
And you know, it reflects on him. You know, he also...
You know what they say, that a man marries a woman and expects her not to change. Then she changes. And the woman gets married to a man and expects him to change. And then he never changes.
He never changes.
So we have to deal with it. We'll take a break on that note. We are talking with Rhoda Kedah on the issue of marriages. Don't go away, we'll be right back.